Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea, and I'm a resource consultant with Children's Inclusion Support Services. I'll be taking you through our Setting Up for Success in Service webinar today. As we navigate our way through this in service, I encourage you to think about your program and how you can apply these positive changes in a way that will best help you and the children to be successful. I hope that you come away from this feeling inspired and armed with the tools to plan and implement these changes. As Henry Ford said, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So kids are not going to walk up to you and say, I am struggling with some tough emotions right now and I don't know how to cope. They're going to act out and behave in some challenging ways. So I'd like you to consider your program and ask yourself these reflective questions. What challenging behaviors are currently seen in your program? Do you consider them safe or unsafe? How do you respond to challenging behaviors? What strategies are you using? What's working and what is not working? How do you evaluate how things are going, and how do you decide when to make a change to your current approach? First, we'll look at what is considered a behavior. So behavior is observable, measurable, communicative, and it serves a function. A behavior needs to be observable and measurable. For example, aggression alone is not measurable, but hitting on a table with a closed fist is. Aggression is not a behavior, but hitting is. An example of communicative behavior would be you take a toy away from a child and then the child slaps you in the face. They're communicating their displeasure of having their toy removed. Now we'll look at what could be defined as a challenging behavior. A challenging behavior may interfere with learning. For example, a child leaving circle or group time. They could be hungry, overwhelmed by sight, the smell, sound, and sensations of having their peers all around them. Interfere with skills already learned. So for example, a child struggles to complete a task that he regularly does. For example, putting on shoes. Perhaps the child doesn't understand the expectation. Maybe the instruction was not as clear and concise as it could be. The child may feel better supported when a visual is used to accompany the verbal direction. So present safety issues. For example, the child bolts from the program. Maybe the child is overwhelmed that the only thing they can do is to escape. Challenging behavior could be disruptive to the group. For example, screaming. Maybe the parents are divorcing, death in the family, changes in dynamics at home, and the child is part of a disadvantaged community, and this is how they're coping. Cause damage to the environment. So throwing chairs, ripping things off the walls, breaking equipment. This could be a result of difficulty problem solving, low frustration tolerance. It's often helpful to view a challenging behavior as safe or unsafe. This will help you as a teaching team determine the type of response you want to use. Safe and unsafe behaviors should not be treated in the same way, and therefore it's important to discuss your personal attitudes and perceptions about behaviors amongst your team. As a teaching team, come to a general consensus on what behaviors can be considered safe and unsafe. So safe, challenging behavior. Approach these in a way that focuses on the teachable moment rather than the behavior itself. You might interpret the safe, challenging behavior being displayed and teach the child a better way to support themselves. For example, child's leaving circle time. Interpret why and provide an alternative to support the child. Perhaps it's too loud. You could offer the child noise-canceling headphones. Maybe they're hungry. Take a look at your snack schedule. Could you change it to before circle versus after? For unsafe, challenging behavior, you want to ensure safety for all children. The teaching team needs to respond immediately to unsafe, challenging behaviors in a calm and neutral manner to prevent an escalation in behavior. When unsafe, challenging behaviors occurs, a safety plan must be put in place. Meet as a team and form a plan so that in that instance, the unsafe behavior occurs. Everyone knows the protocol to ensure safety of not only the child displaying the behavior, but also the children and the staff. So functions of behavior. This refers to the purpose of the behavior, why this behavior is occurring. So first we have attention seeking. This is when a child seeks adults or peers' attention. For example, a child is constantly going up the slide the wrong way, and looking at the educator while doing it. The educator goes over and repeatedly reminds the child to go the other way. Tangible gain is when a child wants a toy or an object, an activity, or a person. For example, a child hits a peer to obtain a toy, and the peer drops the toy and then goes to the educator. That child grabs the toy. Escape or avoidance is when the child avoids a specific person, an expectation, activity, or a task. For example, a child goes to the bathroom every day at tidy up time. The child misses the responsibility of tidying up. Sensory automatic reinforcement is when the child's behaviors have everything to do with him or her, no one else is involved. This is often caused by the child being overwhelmed by too much sensory input. The child maintains the behavior because it may provide him or her with comfort or decrease anxiety. For example, a child who flaps for a minute or two and then goes back to play. Challenging behaviors need to be replaced with behaviors that mean the same function. This is where data collection comes in as a really helpful tool in identifying functions of behaviors. So what occurs before and directly after the behavior? Is the response between staff consistent? Having these answers will allow you to replace that behavior while still satisfying the child's need. So teamwork. Using a collaborative team approach has a really positive impact. And so what makes an effective team? The involvement and support of the educator, the engagement of the educators with the children, the collaboration with parents and guardians, elders and community partners, for example, consultants, therapists. So collaboration. Collaboration is information shared to all members of the team. Does everyone understand goals and objectives for all aspects of the day? For example, programming, structure, and transitions. Is input from all team members encouraged? Communication. Is communication encouraged? Are issues identified and responded to in a timely fashion? Do team members actively listen to one another? Input and feedback are very important. Be aware of how and what you're communicating. For example, tone of voice, body language, and facial expressions, as well as how others prefer to be communicated with. Is there consistency in approach, the limits, the expectations, the follow-through, and the schedule? Each member of the team should feel valued and supported, recognizing when a team member may need assistance, offering to help, being respectful, and encouraging of one another are all ways to support each other. How do you promote positive interactions and build positive relationships and a sense of belonging within the team, with parents and guardians, and the community? You can see this image of 4 puzzle pieces coming together: programming, physical space, structure and transitions, and teacher response. All behaviors in your program are directly influenced by these aspects of your environment. All aspects of the environment are interlinked, and each piece of the puzzle is required to create and enhance quality childcare. The physical space includes the cubby area, washroom, sleep room or rest area, lunch, snack area, indoor and outdoor play areas, book and carpet area, sensory play, dramatic play, art, discovery science, and computer area. Careful planning and arrangement of the physical space has a positive effect on behavior. It creates an exciting, inviting, inclusive space where learning is encouraged and fun for everyone. So when thinking about how your physical space is functioning and the potential changes you could make, consider these questions. Are all activity areas being used? Do activities reflect children's interests? Is there a balance of active and quiet activities? And is the room easily observable? Some strategies that can support you in creating your best physical space are clearly defined play spaces, the use of visuals, having a designated calm down area, and having activities that are relevant to the current interests of the children. When organizing your space, it helps to have clearly defined play areas. To do this, consider the placement of furniture and rugs in the room. Use visuals such as tape, footprints, letters, pictures, stop signs on the floors or the walls. Consider using shelving and dividers as barriers between play areas. Visuals are going to help to define play areas, organize toys and materials, and encourage independence for all children. These visuals could be a stop sign or an X to let the children know what is closed for play that day. Also, labeling shelves and bins with a visual will support and encourage the children to know where each toy is when they either want to play with it or at tidy up time when they're putting the toys away. The purpose of creating a calm down area is to provide a space to support the child in learning to self-regulate and regain self-control. It's a safe place for a child to take a break away from the stimulus that's causing the stress, anxiety, or anger. So maybe loud noises, having to share, feeling tired, or being excited. The child learns to identify overwhelming feelings and step away to regain their self-control. Through this process, the child engages in calming and relaxing activities, and once calm, is able to return to the activity or routine in progress. A calm down area should never be used as a timeout or as a punishment. So having activities that are relevant to the children's current interests will increase their motivation to actively participate in activities throughout the day. The more children are engaged, the less likely they are to engage in challenging behaviors. A variety of sensory activities should be available throughout all parts of the day. Plan to have sufficient and age and stage appropriate toys, equipment, and materials, duplicate toys, complete sets, and puzzles with all the necessary pieces. Have an ongoing list of children's interests. Consider discussing and creating this list at circle time. Engage in a conversation and work collaboratively with the children to get an idea of some activities that would be of interest to them. Structure and transition. So organizing and planning all aspects of the childcare environment are key components to effective structure and transition. Defining consistent expectations, limits, and strategies will facilitate and ensure positive interactions within your transitions and reduce challenging behaviors. Some components of effective structure include planning and organization, daily routine, limits and clear expectations, clear directives, physical boundaries, visual supports. Teamwork and designated responsibilities can be really helpful. For example, early shift is responsible for setting up the room for play and getting the morning activities ready. Some transition strategies. So transition is a time when children are expected to stop what they're doing before moving on. It's important to understand each child's needs so that all children can be successful during transitions. Some strategies to consider that support effective structure in transitions are attention cues and warnings, clear expectations, having short wait times, no unnecessary transitions, and effective communication. So attention and cues and warnings. These could be group or individual. Again, know your kids, know your children, what ones need an individual face-to-face warning or maybe more than one warning. You could use auditory, so chimes, transitional songs, or a rhyme. Visual, flicking the lights, gestures, timers, referring to a visual schedule or a flip pick, or concrete props, so show a diaper, show the coat, a paintbrush, a spoon, etc. Clear expectations, so communicate your expectations to the children, use clear and concrete language and short sentences, provide reminders, so verbal, visuals, or physical, and prompts as needed. Always plan and be prepared for wait times by having books, songs, finger play, or a waiting bin. Review the number of transitions and the steps involved. Shortest distance, least distraction, most direct route. So 2 strategies to consider when communicating effectively are to ensure you're using a calm and neutral voice. This involves maintaining a calm and neutral presence by being aware of your tone of voice, facial expression, body language, and choice of words when communicating with the child. It's also important to make sure we're telling the child what to do versus what not to do. This involves using concrete, positive wording when giving directions. Words such as stop, no, and don't should be avoided. For example, use gentle hands versus no hitting. We need to understand the relationship to understand what the child is telling us. Our most important contribution to helping children express themselves is to make them feel safe. So the foundation of a childcare program is built on commitment and the team-based approach of its educators. Teachers' responses create a positive effect on behavior and promote an exciting, inviting, and fun learning environment. Your response to a child's behavior can make or break that relationship where they feel safe and secure. 3 preventative strategies that support positive teachers' responses are safe and secure relationships, empathetic response, positive reinforcement, and attention. So safe and secure relationships. This promotes attachment between the educator and the child. So how can we implement safe and secure relationships in our programs? We can welcome each child into the program daily, connect with each child throughout the day, respond to children when they try to connect, get to know the child's interests, likes and dislikes and commonalities, join in play. This shows that you are invested and interested in what they're doing. Be mindful to provide intervals of attention to all children. Compile a list of the group's interests and involve the children in planning. Ask them directly what their interests are. This will support them feeling valued and help them to have a sense of belonging. So next, we're going to watch a short video on safe and secure relationships and their importance in the childcare programs.
Hi, I'm Pina Giovannitti, Behavior Consultant with Children's Inclusion Support Services. Today, I want to talk to you about safe and secure relationships and how this strategy can reduce challenging behaviors in your program. Now I can hear you say, safe and secure relationships? Are you kidding me? Don't we already do this? We welcome children. We set out games they like to play, and we keep them safe. Isn't that what it takes? Let's get the ball rolling. I have a snowball story to tell you. I was in a school-age program, and this girl was making a big, beautiful snowball. She was working really hard on it. She put paint on it. It looked like a giant blue marble. When it was time to go inside, we had a problem. The girl didn't want to leave her snowball, and she was hesitating to line up. So I said to her, "Hey, it looks like you really want to bring that snowball with you." And she responded, "I do." I wonder if we can do that. Let's go ask your teacher. She asked her teacher, and if she could take the snowball inside. "No, we can't do that. It has to stay outside," her teacher said. The girl was visibly disappointed. "Do you have a sensory bin?" I asked the teacher. "It's for the kinder group. It doesn't belong to us," she replied. I looked around the yard. There was a little container. It was a bit broken, but I told the girl, "If you carry one side and I carry the other, we can put the snowball in and bring it inside." I asked the teacher, "If we bring it inside, can we drop it off at the front of the program? We'll put it outside where it can keep cold." The teacher replied, "Okay, if you want to bring her there." I looked at the girl and said, "We have a plan." Then together, we carried the snowball in. As we walked, we talked about it and how hard she worked on it and how beautiful it looked, and so on. Then we placed it at the front of the program, and that was it for that day. When I returned 2 weeks later, the group was in the gym. I walked in, and the girl made a run for me. Thank you for helping me to rescue my snowball," she said. "You're welcome," I replied. "I've been thinking about you and your snowball. What happened the next day? Did you get to play with it? Was it still in one piece?" She sighed. "No, somebody broke it and smashed it to pieces. But you helped me save my snowball." And that was really important to her. This child felt that in that moment, their problem mattered to someone else. An adult took the time and effort to help them find solutions to their problem, because that adult valued something that they had worked really hard on. In fostering safe and secure relationships, we are reducing the frequency and intensity of challenging behaviors because we are buffering the impact of daily stressors on children. Dr. Jean Clinton says, "More connection, less correction." Through connection, we are showing children that they can trust us. Trusting us to help them come up with solutions to their problems and to meet their needs. And when we are building those connections, we are creating pathways in the brain that allow children to thrive. By learning through positive experiences with caring and responsive adults, children learn to be resilient, flexible, and adaptable problem solvers. We are giving them the language. We are giving them the time. We are helping them to increase their frustration tolerance. We are showing them that they are competent and capable. Safe and secure relationships are about trust. It starts with us trusting the children so they can trust us, which in turn allows children to trust themselves. Safe and secure relationships are not about telling children our job is to keep them safe. Our job is to provide children with safe and secure relationships that instill confidence, that allows them to learn and grow, to make mistakes, because they know our relationship with them is bigger than any problem they can encounter. Here are 3 key techniques to build and maintain safe and secure relationships. Number 1, be present. Engage in meaningful conversation when greeting and connecting with children. Be curious about what's going on in their lives. Be relatable. Share in their interests and experiences. Number 2, say yes. By connecting, you learn the strengths and limitations of the children in your group. This allows you to take calculated risks and say yes, which fosters curiosity, confidence, and skill building. And number 3, let them know they matter to you. Speak positively about your students. Avoid talking about children in front of parents and peers, unless it's something positive. Validate their concerns. There is no problem you can't handle, no worry too big or too small. When you make children a priority, you are building connection. Safe and secure relationships reduce challenging behaviors because children's stress levels decrease when they know they can count on an adult they trust. When we communicate to children that we will support them through any emotion, any need or problem, like saving a snowball, we are helping children to cope with the stresses they face. In times of uncertainty and upset, these relationships assure children that even if the problem feels too big for them, there is a caring, trustworthy adult they can rely on. So remember, be present, say yes, and let your children know they matter to you. I'm Pina. Until next time.
Okay, so after watching that video, I think we can all agree that in order to form that safe and secure relationship, we must validate what the child is feeling and share in their concern. Let go of what we deem important and recognize that it's important to the child in that moment, just like the girl and her snowball. In that particular scenario, the adult is being present, saying yes to helping solve the child's problem, and this in turn lets the child know that they matter to you. So an empathetic response is another really important teacher response strategy. An empathetic response acknowledges and validates the child's feelings, needs, and wants. It provides reassurance, comfort, and can reduce the escalation of challenging behavior. It's also important to remember to use you statements. For example, you are really frustrated right now. An empathetic response lets a child know that their emotions are recognized and understood. It's important to remember that in order for children to develop empathy, they need to experience it. So now let's watch this short video on empathetic response.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Pina Giovannitti, Behavior Consultant with Children's Inclusion Support Services. Today, I'm going to talk to you about empathetic responses and how this strategy can reduce challenging behaviors in your program. So what is empathy? And why is it so important? Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's important because if we are able to understand another person's perspective, it allows us to be more caring and sensitive to their needs. Can you think of any opportunities you've had to practice empathy recently with your children? What did that look like? Do you think that child felt validated and understood? How do you think an empathetic response might affect the behaviors of a child experiencing big emotions? As educators, empathy is a skill we work tirelessly to instill in children from a very young age. We want them to share, to be gentle with others, to be nice, and to apologize. Because how would you feel if someone did that to you? But, as Mary Gordon says, empathy is caught, not taught. Empathy is a skill that develops over a lifetime, and as adults, we are responsible for setting the foundation for empathy by showing empathy. In order for a child to develop empathy, they need to experience it. With that in mind, I'd like to tell you a story. I walked into a preschool program. The group was getting ready to go outside. One child, a young boy, was sitting motionless next to his snow pants and coat, and he was crying. The educator, while managing all the children, was saying to him, "Come on now, get dressed. You can do it. You always get dressed by yourself." The boy continued to cry. I watched this scene for a few moments. Then I asked the educator if I could step in to try something, and she said, "Yeah, go ahead." I approached this young boy and said, "It looks like you're feeling sad. I see you have tears in your eyes." He kind of looked at me, so I continued, "Is it difficult for you to put on your snow pants today? Can I help you?" He shook his head back and forth, indicating no. Then I asked, "Is there a problem with your snow pants?" He nodded his head up and down, indicating yes. So I persisted, What's wrong with your snow pants?" I was surprised by what came next. He replied, "My mommy washed them and they're not hot anymore." To make sure I understood, I repeated back to him, "Oh, so you're saying your mom washed the snow pants and you believe they're not going to keep you warm anymore?" He nodded his head up and down. "Oh, I see that. Well, did your mom put them in the dryer?" He nodded his head. "Okay," I said, "so then, you don't know this, but dryers are giant toasters. They put the hot back in the snow pants." He looked up at me and almost immediately started to get dressed. Are you sure I can't help you?" I asked. "No, I can do this all by myself." Then he was in line with the other kids, ready to go outside. This child was experiencing big emotions and needed to know that someone could meet their needs. This child felt that in that moment, their problem mattered to someone else. The adult was curious and took the time to help them find solutions to their problem, because that adult understood that they were going through something. Throughout our daily interactions with children, there are a myriad of opportunities for us to practice empathy. That said, sometimes our capacity for being aware of and sensitive to others' needs can be clouded by competing priorities. For example, dressing time and transitions. Other times, we may be deeply sensitive to the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of a child, but be unsure of how to express that empathy. By interpreting what children communicate physically and verbally, we are able to empathize with them, to validate, label, show concern for, and reassure them that those needs can be met. In order to truly be empathetic towards a child who is experiencing big emotions, we need to step out of judgment and into understanding, to be curious about what that child is experiencing and why. Children face many stressors that trigger big emotions that can get in the way of children performing a skill already learned. For example, dressing, sharing, saying goodbye, or waiting for a long time. It's important to allow children to safely experience a whole range of emotions, such as anger, sadness, frustration, excitement, fear, worry, jealousy, and happiness. While it can be uncomfortable to empathize with some of these emotions, these feelings are all natural, and children need to be invited to feel them safely without judgment in order to learn how to express them appropriately. When we provide children with empathetic responses that validate their feelings, wants, and needs, we are providing them with opportunities for communication and skill development, such as problem solving and conflict resolution. Remember to validate and acknowledge accomplishments and joyful moments too. So, to get you started, here are 3 key techniques to providing an empathetic response. Number 1, empathize. Be with the child. Approach the child calmly. Provide proximity support. Get to the child's level. Be sensitive to the feelings, wants, and needs being expressed. Mirror the child's emotions. For example, if a child is clenching their jaw and fists, expressing anger, you may reflect that back by saying, "You are clenching your jaw and fists. It looks like you're angry." Similarly, when a child is sad or withdrawn, we will match their energy. Be genuine. Number 2, validate. Listen to what the child is communicating. Label the experience and use you statements. For example, you feel frustrated that you couldn't get your turn. Or describe the situation, saying, "You like playing outside. It's hard when it's time to go inside." Don't forget to give children the time and space to process their emotions. And number 3, reassure. Provide comfort. Consider whether the child likes to be held or needs space. Normalize their experience. Let them know it's okay to feel this way. Relate what they're going through to your own personal experience. For example, "I feel that way sometimes." Or relate to their experience to a well-known character or story that the child admires. Empathetic responses reduce challenging behaviors because children's stress levels decrease when they know they can count on an adult to understand them. When we communicate to a child that we will support them through any problem, like putting on their snow pants, emotion or need, we are helping children to make sense of stresses they face. So remember, empathize with your children, validate their experiences, and reassure them. Until next time.
Okay, so I hope that video highlighted what empathetic response looks like and how it's a crucial aspect to teacher response. We are validating the child's feelings without judgment and allowing them to feel heard. And in turn, the child can trust that adult to help them find solutions or to listen to their concerns. And then we have positive reinforcement and positive attention. So this supports the child in developing new skills and fosters desired behaviors. This motivates the child to make the connection between their behavior and the outcome, ensuring positive feelings and the repetition of desired behaviors. Reinforcers include praise, social attention, privileges, and material rewards. Use the child's name when giving positive attention. Avoid mentioning the child's name in relation to the challenging behavior. This will help build relational confidence. Be specific and immediate in your response. Be consistent, sincere, and enthusiastic. When using verbal reinforcement, be sure to label the skill or desired behavior before using "good job" or "well done." For example, "You put your shoes on. Well done." "You are waiting your turn. Good job." You might also try using the 2x10 strategy. This consists of spending 2 minutes per day for 10 consecutive days talking with an at-risk learner about anything they want to talk about. Programming involves observation, setting goals and objectives, planning, implementation, and evaluation. It teaches skills that address individual and group developmental needs. It is essential in reducing challenging behaviors. Observations are going to support the teaching team to gain a greater understanding of each child's development in order to offer new opportunities that enhance and extend play based on interest and needs. Setting goals and objectives will provide a direction and purpose for the teaching team in meeting those specific individual and group needs. Planning provides the means to achieve those set goals and objectives. It provides the time, setting, and structure to support children in exploration, discovery, and engagement in various forms of play. Implementation is the action of being responsive to the children's learning and needs by following through on the daily plan while encompassing teachable moments. Evaluation is the process of reviewing all aspects of programming. Evaluating will allow you to reflect as a team on what worked, what the children enjoyed most, and if the programming is supportive to all children's individual needs. Programming is crucial for progressive skill development. Some programming strategies to support you are have a balance of child-led and educator-facilitated activities, incorporate children's interests, include a variety of both active and quiet activities, use a variety of materials that will support all children's active participation, adapt and accommodate to support all children's needs. So we'll dive a bit deeper into each one of these programming strategies. So child-led learning. The child sets the stage and the educator follows the child's lead. This empowers the child. It encourages exploration, creativity, and imagination. This enables the pursuit of interests and builds on strengths. This also provides opportunities for children to learn from one another. Educator-facilitated learning is when the educator sets the stage and the child follows the educator's lead. This guides learning and teaches skills, provides guidance and security, and expands play and learning opportunities. Having a variety of interesting activities enhances the children's active participation and decreases challenging behaviors. Some questions to consider when planning these activities are, do you have children who are unable to engage in productive play? How would you incorporate preferred activities that meet the developmental needs of all children? How do you incorporate a balance of sensory and/or movement activities to accommodate children's needs? Programming needs to be adapted to support all children and must include individual and group goals, objectives, and create opportunities for skill development. Prevention is key. We need to spend 95% of our time in prevention. Using a preventative approach promotes positive interactions with children and allows the teaching team to focus on skill building and teachable moments. Prevention is key in decreasing safe and unsafe challenging behaviors. As we go through these approaches, reflect on how much time you spend looking at preventative measures versus intervention. When you are using preventative strategies, you are being proactive. An example of this is to be ready to go before the children, line up or anticipate that a child will have a hard time putting away a preferred toy, give a warning and a specific instruction. Reinforcing, so recognizing, promoting appropriate desired behaviors. For example, you worked really hard to put your shoes on. Well done. Engaging, showing that you are indeed interested, involved, present, and supporting children in learning. Actively participate in play while continuing to scan the environment. Validating, so empathetic, nurturing, commenting positively. For example, give an empathetic statement that validates the child's feeling. Empowering, so independence, teach children the skills, enhance positive self-esteem, believing in the children's potential, and having confidence in children's abilities. For example, helper jobs, putting out the cups, serving themselves. This will help the children in feeling confident and capable. Noticing, observing children objectively, acknowledging their needs and their skills, validating their emotions and desires, and interacting at the children's level of development. For example, noticing positive and appropriate behaviors. Teaching and trust, creating opportunities for children to develop and to demonstrate their potential to build positive relationships with peers and the teaching team. Being present, being interested, including children's interests, paying attention and guiding the children. Organized, thinking ahead on how to respond, being prepared throughout your entire program, spending more time with the children and planning. Nonstop fun, building positive relationships in a stimulating environment, building active minds and bodies. Either we spend time meeting children's emotional needs by filling their cup with love, or we spend time dealing with behaviors caused from their unmet needs. Either way, we spend the time. I will leave you with some resources. Children's Inclusion Support Services offers a fantastic resource library, so please have a look at that. Below that, you will see a link to the CISS newsletter with some suggested articles to search for. Here are 3 really great, insightful videos I encourage you to watch. The first being from the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood on understanding childhood behavior. And then there's an interview with child psychiatrist Dr. Jean Clinton on belonging. And the third video is Quality Practices for Personal Care, brought to you by the Affiliated Services for Children and Youth, Embracing the Early Years Project. When children feel at ease, valued, confident, and safe, they are best able to build positive relationships and have fun. By enhancing our programs, we make a difference in children's lives. I want to thank you for joining me for this in-service webinar. And as you can see on this last slide, you will see a link to complete a short quiz that will allow you to receive your certificate of completion of the Setting Up for Success webinar. Thank you, everyone.